In Ayodhya, before the Ram Mandir, there was just a nameless three-dome structure in its place. What was the structure? Meh, who cares? The students don't need to know. This is what the body which advises on school textbooks, that's the NCERT, believes.
We don't need no thought control.
The NCERT clearly disagrees with Pink Floyd because in yet another controversial revision of textbooks, they want to control the narrative of contemporary history. And how do they do this? By simply removing facts.
वो समाज, वो जाति, वो देश जो इतिहास को भूल जाता है, वो कभी भी इतिहास का निर्माण नहीं कर सकता.
This week, let's look at how NCERT is playing fast and loose with facts in its latest textbook revision, their ridiculous defense for it, and why it's downright dangerous.
Right from 2014-15 onwards, when they started tinkering, every single change that was made has been to the liking of the current regime.
Let me explain. So let's begin at the beginning. What is NCERT? The National Council for Education Research and Training is an autonomous body of the Union Government's Ministry of Education. NCERT is supposed to advise the government on school education policies, and they also make model textbooks, which are usually prescribed by the CBSE. There are over 24,000 CBSE affiliated schools in India. Not just that, entrance exams for undergrad admissions to over 200 universities are closely aligned with this syllabus. Now, obviously, the textbooks need to be revised every few years, and they bring on a panel to do this job. This year, the changes made by the NCERT, specifically the political science textbook for class 11, are pretty controversial. Instead of doing the job of presenting political facts, it looks like the NCERT has decided to rewrite contemporary history. And its version looks a lot like that of the current regime. Let's take the biggest controversy this time. In class 12 political science textbook, it looks like there was no Babri Masjid in Ayodhya at all. Instead, there was a nameless three-dome structure. The Ayodhya dispute section has been revised to focus on the Ram Janmabhoomi movement. Remember who led this movement? Prominent leaders of the Sangh and BJP, which is in power right now. The Supreme Court verdict from 2019 that allowed the Ram Mandir gets a fleeting reference. Any references to the demolition of the Babri Masjid itself, which took place on the 6th of December 1992, has been removed, at least in 3 clear places. The old textbook also had images of newspaper articles with headlines like these: Babri Masjid demolish, Centre sacks Kalyan government. Another headline quoted former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee saying Ayodhya is BJP's worst miscalculation. All these have now been removed. We can imagine how this may be very inconvenient to a few people. This is why we keep asking you to support independent journalism. If you want unvarnished truth, not some sugar-coated version made to suit someone's agenda, then you can count on us. To show that we can count on you, scan this QR code and become a paid TNM subscriber. I'll wait. That this three-dome structure simply ceased to exist one day, rather than being demolished by a mob of RSS and BJP volunteers, workers and supporters. That the Ram Janmabhoomi movement was simply a court battle that led to the building of Ram Temple in Ayodhya. The NCERT now wants to tell students that the Babri Masjid simply just vanished one day, just like that. And people simply wanted a Ram Temple in Ayodhya, which the Supreme Court allowed in 2019, and it was inaugurated in 2024. Of course, there's no mention that even this Supreme Court order held the demolition of the Babri Masjid was wrong. Changes were also made to the chapter about the Gujarat riots of 2002. Remember when Prime Minister Modi was then Chief Minister Modi of Gujarat? The original textbook said more than 1,000 persons, mostly Muslims, were massacred during the post-Godhra riots in Gujarat in 2002. The amended version now says during the post-Godhra riots in Gujarat in 2002, more than 1,000 people were killed. Who were these people? The BJP has many times been accused of saffronizing the education system to push its political and ideological agenda. My colleague Kora has done a detailed episode on how the 10 years of Modi government has saffronized education. You can catch that episode. The link is in the description below. Here at TNM, we believe democracy needs well-informed citizens. Help us help you. Pay to keep news truthful. BJP and its supporters argue that they're simply balancing out the overly leftist perspectives of the previous curriculum. Now, last year's revisions of the textbooks deleted chapters on Narmada protest, the Chipko movement, and any reference to Naxalism. In fact, between class 6 and 10, students would not even learn about any protests at all. Now, we know how allergic some people who are currently in power are to protests and Andolanjeevis.
तो पिछले कुछ समय से इस देश में एक नई जमात पैदा हुई है, एक नई बिरादरी सामने आई है, और वो है आंदोलनजीवी.
And all this was done under the guise of reducing the syllabus and reducing the workload after the pandemic. Let's look at what NCERT's justification now is to making these changes. This man, NCERT Director Dinesh Saklani, says that he doesn't want to create violent, depressed citizens. I think the best reply to this came from TMC leader Saket Gokhale. He asked, by this logic, we shouldn't even teach kids other violent, depressing things like the World War. Dinesh Saklani has also gone on to say that if students want to read about these things in detail, then they can read it elsewhere. In another interview, Saklani has asked if we should teach our students in a manner that they become offensive, create hatred in society, or become victims of hatred. But here's the thing. Riots are a result of hatred in our society. So by not addressing them, we cannot bring down hatred. If anything, by properly informing what led to these riots and what its impact was, one can hope that the young students will contribute towards building a better society. Now, two of the people listed by the NCERT as chief advisors, that's Yogendra Yadav and Suhas Palshikar, have now threatened legal action if their names are not removed, because they say they had nothing to do with the changes and have called them unethical, unacademic, and illegal. They've also gone on to say that the changes are actually mutilations.
Right from 2014-15 onwards, when they started tinkering, every single change that was made has been to the liking of the current regime. First, they began by removing a reference to the Gujarat riot. The reference was not our statement, it was a statement of the National Human Rights Commission, which the book has simply reproduced. That was removed. Then they started removing other things which are inconvenient. For example, the fact that the person who assassinated Mahatma Gandhi had an RSS connection, and that ideology was shared, and things of that kind. They started removing all those things. So all the changes that have been made are either directly those which trouble the regime, or the other set of changes are those indirect changes that are not quite keeping with the ideology of the regime.
Here's the funny part. Even Ram Temple's chief priest doesn't seem to be too happy with the revisions. He says there's no mention of events from when the Babri Masjid was demolished, and that narrative starts from November 9th, 2019, when the Ayodhya verdict was given by the Supreme Court. The NCERT has defended the revisions by saying they're just trying to create positive citizens. But in reality, by not educating students of the disturbing episodes of our history, we are raising a generation in denial. A generation that will be incapable of critical thinking.
Please do remember that this book is written for class 12 students who opt for political science and who are going to study humanities or liberal arts later. Please remember that most of them are 18-year-old. Please also remember that in this country, those who are 18-year-old are allowed to vote. So we are speaking to citizens of this country who have the right to vote. So those who have the right to vote, should they not have the right to know?
Among states, Kerala has come out and said that they oppose the changes and the state government will supplement the textbooks, the parts that have been removed, particularly about the Ram temple and the Godhra riots. The question is, will more states follow? That's it from me for this episode. I'll come back with yet another episode of Let Me Explain. Meanwhile, you can write to me at pooja@thenewsminute.com. Do tell me what you thought of my episodes and also do give me some more suggestions for my next episodes.